we are. We're 5 past the hour, so let's start. Let's kick this off. Let's do a bit of introductions. My name's Nigel Smith. I am the Director for Microsoft Alliances, working in a number of countries, but for the purposes of this webinar, I'm actually part of the Sub-Saharan team as well. Just some background here. We are recording, as I've said, and there is no way you can talk to me. It's chat only. So if you have any questions during the session, if you can put them into the chat, and we have a moderator with us, Jonathan, and when we come to the end of certain sections, Jonathan will then ask me those questions on your behalf, and you'll be able to hear them in the recordings. So today we're going to learn about how you can unlock Teams if you're in a regulatory or a compliant organization, how you can unlock Teams for external communications using a native recording application. So let's look at a bit of ASC to start with. ASC have been around since 1964. We've got a lot of depth of experience in communications, engineering, and recording. Someone else is just joining. Welcome. We've got a depth of experience in this market. We've got a headquarters in Germany, and we have many subsidiaries around the world. The South African team is run out of the UK by the managing director, Chris Wern. So that's us. That's ASC. ASC are a preferred partner for compliance. Now, what do I mean about that? When 2018 came and Microsoft started looking at Teams, they knew that for Teams to become a mainstay product in the communication space, they would have to look at things like compliance. So they asked 2 vendors, one of those being ASC, to look at how they could create APIs for the call capture and recording for compliance reasons. So we worked directly with Microsoft on this, and when they were complete, unlike every other company that went out and said, great, we've got these APIs, we've got this nice hardware box, and we're going to integrate into that, ASC took the approach of going, this is a fantastic product, why don't we recreate it from the ground up? So in 2020, we launched ASC Recording Insights. And ASC Recording Insights is an application built into Teams. Throughout the use of this in 2021, we became a preferred application in the marketplace. Into 2022, once the fundamentals of the platform are great, we started looking at what other integrations we could do. And we've now got Dynamics integration. So first-party voice that is made through Teams in Dynamics can be recorded as well. We also looked at being available for the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services. So we are now the only recording solution in the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services. And moving into this year, and we've already seen the release of our transactable app. And this is available to help customers who've got a MAC commitment use our app against that MAC commitment. And and the final thing that's coming out this year is we've got on our roadmap integration into the Microsoft Digital Contact Center. So very much the move towards Azure communication services. And what about, how do we complement Microsoft? Well, we enhance Microsoft's built-in convenience recording. As you know, Microsoft has convenience recording. What it doesn't have is the policies and the rules behind it that adhere to financial regulation. So what we're doing is we're enabling the convenience recording to be compliant and meeting the needs of regulations such as GDPR, MiFID II, and so many others. So what that means is we're enabling customers in regulated industries the financial, the insurance, people who trade commodities such as energy or minerals, healthcare, public sector such as governments who want to record their conversations. We enable them to adopt Microsoft technology for external communication. We enable organizations to stipulate policies. So therefore, Nigel Smith is talking here, and I'm a trader. I'm someone who needs to be recorded. But Jonathan is my HR person, and his conversations are not recorded. So if I'm talking to Jonathan, do we presume that it's about a company matter or a personal matter? And therefore, the policy behind that could change because I might not be recorded when speaking to Jonathan. You can do things like setting the retention time. So if a conversation is being seen as something that is wrong, then you can make that time to live. You can, sorry, someone else is coming in. You can make that time to live extended. So you can hold that conversation beyond its live period so that in future, you can get to that conversation if needed. You can provide a full audit trail, and we'll come on to that in a demonstration, an audit trail of what's happened. Have recordings been deleted? Have people changed policies? It allows us to effectively automate risk management, and I'll come on to that in the future slides as well. And we have compliance analytics. So we talked about integrating to Dynamics 365. Let's move on to how Recording Insights, so ASC Recording Insights, bridges the gaps, the compliance gap in Teams. It allows you to comply with complex regulatory requirements for recording and archiving communication. In Europe, there's a law, MiFID II, where you stipulate certain types of trades are 5 years of storage, certain trades are 7 years of storage. If you're an independent financial advisor and you're selling someone a pension who's 20 years old, then you have to record that information for the lifetime of the relationship. We're a certified native app within Teams, and I'll show you what I mean by that when we come to the future slides and also the demo. We capture communication across all channels, and this is where we differ from other solutions. So the calls, the meetings, the chats, the video, and more importantly, the screen share. So I might be sharing a Word document. I might type something into that Word document and then delete it. We capture that. It's all part of the recording. We use Microsoft Cognitive Services to automatically detect compliance violations. And what that means is that anything that Microsoft has, we can leverage, such as languages and things like that. So what we're doing is we're expanding regulations drive with compliance demand. So therefore, there's a lot of things here. I know not all appropriate to the African market. I know things like the Financial Intelligence Center Act, number 38 of 2001, and its amendments are applicable, such as the Cybercrimes Act as well. So not just about, and I always see recording as, yes, it's a compliant thing, but it also protects your employees. So therefore, that ability that if you're recording those conversations and there is the hint that something has been misappropriately said, you're actually allowing the employee to be protected. And so it's about giving extra protection to the staff and the welfare of the staff. Of course, if you don't adhere to some of those policies, and you're seeing over here, some of those fines can be very heavy. Many of the banks, I think recently there was a whole raft of banks beginning of this year in the US that were using WhatsApp as a messaging medium, and there was no way to record it. So therefore, the banks were fined. I think UK's Barclays was one of those that was fined. So compliance violations can be costly and cumbersome. And I always say that compliance, if you put in a compliance product, if you're recording all your calls, it's not going to stop you getting fined. But it could be the difference between a $5 billion fine and a $4 billion fine. If you've got someone who's going to try and break the system, they'll break the system still. But what you have is the ability to monitor it, and as you'll see, pick that up before the regulator might pick it up. So you're being very proactive in compliance. So let's just think about it, what we're enabling ASC, what Teams phone features we're enabling. So we're doing the compliant recording and storage policies, the record and store. So it's not just about just recording, it's about the storing as well. It's about how they're stored, where they're stored, what the policies behind that storage are. Fast activation, we're built into Microsoft. We love Microsoft. And so therefore we're using the Active Directory. So any users and groups in the Active Directory are automatically pushed through to the ASC Recording Insights product. We have flexible recording analytics rules. I like to think of a compliance engine as a rules engine. And you can build a rule for almost anything. As I explained before, me calling HR, should that call be recorded? We use Microsoft Cognitive Services for the AI-based transcription, translation, and categorization of any calls. We do monitoring and alerting with a customizable dashboard, but again, relies upon that AI function within Microsoft. And we can protect against deletion and manipulation. And those time to live, that ability to store a recording, that means that it can't be deleted. We offer enterprise-grade compliance and security features. A lot of what we do is built into our solution. So it's a pure play Microsoft strategy and support. We'll put, and we'll come on to the architecture, but we'll make sure that every call is redundantly recorded. And all recordings are stored redundantly as well within the Microsoft Azure environment. They can be stored within a country. They can be stored within a region. We're using those cognitive services. Now, that's the important thing, to see how AI improves, and we'll come on to that in a minute. It is enterprise grade. We have one of the largest banks in South Africa that is already using this. I'm not allowed to mention their name. So but I think there's a big five in South Africa, and they're one of those big five. Enterprise grade deployment and flexibility. It's really easy. If you make changes to the Microsoft Active Directory, those are pushed through to the ASC Recording Insights. So it's a pure Microsoft play. And we have in-country pre-sales and support. So we have support from organizations that will help you within country. So this is the application. So let's look at what it means. So this is built into Teams, and this is just a slide. I'll show you my demo in a minute. But what you can see is we're recording all kinds of things in that one screen. And this is an administrator screen. It's not something the average employee who isn't able to turn off recording can do. So therefore, you can see that there's, let's start in the top right corner, you see the attendees of the meeting and the screen they were sharing at the time and who was sharing that screen. So you've got the two people here attending. You can see the screen, what was being done on the screen, what was being said on the screen. and you can see a timeline for what's going on that conversation. Underneath these people, you can see a nice bar, a sentiment bar, as we call it. And that sentiment bar allows us to instantly pick out problems in the call. So we can define a rule that maybe says, but you have to say at the beginning of the call, this call is being recorded for quality purposes. If that wasn't said, you can see at the beginning of the call, we've got a red bar. It was never said at the beginning. That is a compliance issue. That is a policy that has not been adhered to. Maybe within the call, there was a good conversation, a conversation that was about how well something has reacted to this situation. They'll come up as green. Again, you build this up with words. You can say that certain words must be said, certain phrases must be said, and that's built up within the rules. So this intelligence-based sentiment bar is allowing you to look at the rules as they're being performed. You then have the simple things like the transcribe and the translate. And this is where we leverage what Microsoft do. If Microsoft have a language, and they have many languages, even Welsh, if Microsoft have a language, we can transcribe that call into that language. If certain people are speaking within the call, maybe I'm speaking English, we've got someone speaking German, someone speaking French, because of the way Microsoft records, it will give us all those languages in their original language. And we can normalize that. We can normalize it such that it's all in English for me to understand, or it's all in German for the German person to understand. And then you can download the transcriptions. You can download the calls, the speech. You can download anything if you need to. And then the final part is the time to live. If you want to, you can set that, and I'll show you in the demo, so that a call is never deleted until you want it to be deleted. So consider this as the manager's view, the compliance officer's view. This is the view that someone is getting about every call. Within the application, we have a dashboard, again, AI-based. And within that dashboard, we can build reports. So I'm the manager, I'm the compliance officer. I want to build reports about what's going on within my team. I can look at things such as any recordings that have been deleted. Who deleted those? How they were deleted? When they were deleted? I can look at the calls that have been in action and being recorded. I can look at compliance hits. And this is where it starts to become interesting, is that ability for AI to tell us when there's been a compliance hit. And this is something new, really. We also have that ability to add use cases for risk management. So the compliance engine part of Recording Insights allows you to add compliance policies, reflecting regulatory requirements, protecting confidential information, such as credit cards. You can build rules, policies into the recordings about those. You can build workflows to facilitate review. Now, this is the really key thing. This is where AI compliance really helps. And this is just a simple working out. 150 employees, probably in calls for around 4 hours a day. That's 138,000 hours of conversation per year. Spending 100% of their time on screening calls, a compliance officer or a manager would only be able to review 1.33% of the calls. Adding compliance, adding AI into that compliance allows us to pick up easily where problems have occurred. And actually, when I get into the demo, I'll quickly show you how you can build rules that allow you to define something. So when we went back to that sentiment bar, the red things that happen, and if that occurs in a call, that could instantly be emailed to a compliance officer or a manager as something that was wrong with that call, that when the call is finished can draw their attention to what's gone wrong. And the last part is the managing of compliance recording in Dynamics 365. So we put full control into Dynamics 365 of being able to start recordings within Dynamics and link recordings to the entities like opportunities, accounts, contacts directly in the CRM. We can display the history in the timeline and replay those calls. The calls are still being stored in the Teams environment and adhering to the rules in there, but you're able to directly link to recording insights. So I'm going to move into a demo. This is the kind of architecture you'll be looking at. Now, it's I'm not a solution architect. I'm not going to try and bore you with all of the details of how it works. But what you can see is that effectively we're putting two bots into every call, coming from different regions. We're recording and putting the calls in two different storage locations. It is all built into Teams. Okay, this is recording insights. So as you can see, it's built into Teams. This is classed as a manager's view. You know, this is and there are certain rules and things you can follow. You can have such that people won't see this. It doesn't matter about recording insights because they're just being recorded. I have that ability to turn recordings on and off. So during a call, I can record the call. That's because I've got that ability to. I won't record it again. We're already recording it in here. In here, you can see the conversations. So let's pick one conversation here. We're loading that conversation in because it's GDPR. It was a conversation with myself. During this, you can see, you see the sentiment bar here. You can see the people involved, Nigel Smith and Nigel's guest. And this one here is the shared screen between us. So if we step into any one part of the conversation, so this green bit here, we can instantly see what was being shared, what was being said at that time. We have the information about the call. It was started, it was muted, it was unmuted, the recording started, and we can see the conversation down the end, and then we can see that the call finished and the recording stopped. We can do automatic detection of the language that was used during the call. And if we want, we can translate that call. And as I've said before, everything Microsoft have, we have. And every time Microsoft add a language, we add it very quickly. We can export the call. We can export the audio, all data, the metadata and transcript. We can look at the time to live. So we want to add this to conversation safe, and we can select the folder we want to add it to, save. And that recording is now added to the conversation safe. We can look at the metadata to the call, conversation IDs, everything we need to know where that call was. We can look at any categories or policies that were applied to that call. So this is the simple part, the recording part. If I look at the dashboard, and this is the AI dashboard, this is where I can start to see things that maybe went wrong in the organization. And I can see the total number of calls, what type of call they were, inbound, outbound, meeting, internal calls. I can see outbound calls this month. I can see compliance policy hits. This is any report that I wanted to create. So what I can do is maybe create something else. I want to call it calls inbound. I can spell. I can look at the KPIs. So I'm building this report myself. I'm the manager and I want to build this report myself. So recording inbound, selected user. Let's select a user. Do I want it to be a number? Do I want it to be a spine, a pie chart? I think I want this to be a number. I can look at the count. I look at the cycle, if it's custom. And the cycle, I want that to be last year. And then I can set alarm configurations. So the value type, what type of alarm is this? So greater than, less than, and a value 9, for example. And then I can send it to an email address. I don't want to do that. So let's save that. And instantly, I've got a calls inbound box. And I don't record a lot of my calls. So there's 0. We can upload anything. So for example, if something's been taken from somewhere else, we can upload that into this system. But more importantly, let's look at the settings. And this is where we start to build up the policies and the rules. So within here, you can build many things. You can look at the policies that are applied to a user. Nigel Smith. So you can look at all the policies that apply to me. It's ASC recording on demand, ASC replay, ASC access with admin demo. This is my actual demonstration environment. You can see I've got add-on analytics, add-on full chat. I can add on other parts of things as well. Let's delete that. And then you've got rules, but rules are made of a number of things. You can have groups, categories in rules. So therefore, let's look at the groups. So you could see that certain groups are here. So let's look at this. This is the on-demand test. So this is an ASC recording group, and you can see within that group what has to happen. So add-on analytics, add-on other options. You can look at categories. Now, let's look at one of these categories. Let's take cloud, top one. And in that category, you can start to build the keywords. So I talked about in the sentiment bar, certain keywords being pulled out. This category, if this category was part of my profile, I can pull out these keywords, the frequency once. So if there's anything that goes on, the sentiment analysis, what action you need to do. So for example, if there has been a hit on this particular thing, you can set a retention time. You can also put a link to it as well. And then the rules themselves. So let's look at the rules. You can have access and write rules. You can have analytics rules. And let's look at one of the analytics rules. And within this rule, you start to build it up. So analyze all calls, video indexing, no translation, but you can do translation within this. So you're starting to build up the rule. And then, of course, within that, you've got the users and certain rules. So you can see for this user here, they've got a recording rule, a replay rule, an access rule, an analytics rule, an add-on analytics, and add-on full chat. So you build up all of these rules within here. So that's a bit about the system. I won't go any further on that. I'm not the pre-sales. I can certainly, if anyone's interested, have pre-sales give a full demo of this platform. Let me stop sharing that. And hopefully you'll see me again. And I'll share one last thing. Let me get to the right slide. Hopefully you will see this and you're back to the presentation. So let me get you to here. And if you can't see the presentation, please jump up and down. Summary, the advantages of ASC Recording Insights. It's native in Teams. Everything you know, it becomes easy to use. If you're the administrator, it's native in Teams. You understand it. You understand the Microsoft Cognitive Services. It's a really easy to experience. There's no separate application. There's no separate login to another platform. It's really easy to deploy, whereas some competitive solutions may take 6 months, 12 months to deploy. It's done simply with under an hour. In fact, there is a gentleman in the Microsoft office in South Africa who said it took him 20 minutes to install it. It does user matching via the Azure Active Directory. It's highly scalable. It can go from a very small number of employees to a massive enterprise. We've just installed one for a global bank that has over 5,000 users. It supports all Teams phones options. So providing the Teams client itself is within the call, it doesn't matter what option you use, direct routing, Operator Connect, Teams Phone Mobile, that all of them, as long as they're in the Teams environment, we can record it. And unlike, as I said, unlike many others, we capture everything. We capture all media in Teams, voice, chat, video, and most importantly, what's being shared on the screen. It's hosted in highly secured and redundant Azure geo-redundant storage. It meets all regulatory requirements. We've been doing this for a long time and we understand what those requirements are. It uses cognitive services for AI-driven compliance and risk management engine. It's integrated to Dynamics 365 now and in future the Digital Contact Center. And because we've got a transactable app, it can count against anybody who has a Mac commitment. So that's really what I wanted to share today. I'll open the floor to anyone who wants to ask a question via the chat session, and I'll stop presenting. No, so any Teams license like the E3, E5 that can make external communications, that's what's needed. We don't need any more than that. There's nothing special added on to the Teams license for our solution. As long as you can choose to make outgoing calls and things from it, we can use it. Absolutely. So when you're building up the rules within this, you have admin rights. And what you were seeing from me, I've got admin rights. I can review my own recordings. I can't record anything Jonathan creates, but I can review my own recordings. So say this was a call center and you've got a number of team leaders, they might have those admin rights to review the recordings. I know in speaking to various regulators in the US, they like the fact that users can review their own recordings. But their access rights may be that they can only review them, but they can't delete them. You know, that's the job of the compliance officer or the manager or the director involved of these things. So you can build up rules to access certain things, to not access certain things. As I said before, I like to think of it as a giant rules engine. And the thing about a rules engine is you can build a rule for anything. So absolutely, access management and rights management are okay. Great. Well, I hope that today's been useful for you. As I said, there will be a recording of this made available. I will work with Kevin. And if you've got any questions, if you want to hear any more, if you want to understand any more, please reach out to your Microsoft account executive. Failing that, it's been really nice to speak to you. I can't see you, but it's been really nice to speak to you. And I look forward to any questions in the future you might have.